Hey guys, Related Christ here, and I know that I've been doing videos kind of back to back recently, I thought you guys would like that. Maybe that'll get more people on my channel to recognize what I'm doing and that this is my outreach. So what I want to talk about today is how Luke 5:4-11 relates to being more than conquerors. Um, so you can read it on your own. I'm not gonna like put the whole verse on the screen, but if you want me to, I can, but honestly, I'm just going to talk about it. So it starts out with Jesus saying to Simon Peter, "Put out into deep water and let the nets down for a catch." And so, Simon was like, all day he was like not catching any fish, and so he was really confused by what Jesus said. And so Simon doubted the Messiah, which is a big deal. And I have some notes here, so I'm reading off of that. So they threw the nets into the water, and fish came on, but the fish not only filled the net, but it broke the net. And I'm just thinking of Simon Peter's reaction right now. It's just like, okay, I just doubted the Messiah, and this is like happening. Like, so they filled the net, and they broke the net, and they were like calling guys from the other boat, come over, help us. And then they helped them, but then they had to fill both boats with the fish. And not only did they fill both boats, but they started to sink them. Like, thousands of fish. Can you imagine that? I can't. So the boat started to sink, and then Simon Peter just came to God and just being fully humble. He just said, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." And then verse 10b-11 says, Jesus says to Simon, "Do not be afraid, for now you will catch men." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. So Simon started and nearly ended off with nothing. He was dealing with two things: loss and stress. Simon was serving these two sins, these two things: loss and stress. Jesus told Simon to throw the nets over, but he doubted. Simon doubted, but he complied to the obedient. So he was obedient and he complied to Jesus. But he figured out, once he complied, he became more than a conqueror. Jesus took loss and stress and used them for Peter's good. He mixed them into one, juice, I don't know, and then he used it for Simon's good. He mixed them together and used them for Simon's good. So in verse 8 it says, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." There's a pause between the sentence "go away from me" and the word "Lord." That means that Peter wasn't chill about doing this. Peter felt very guilty about doubting God. He was probably weeping, if you could think about it. And Jesus says, "Don't be afraid." Now, you might have thought that Simon Peter was weeping, but actually he was utterly afraid. I mean, could you imagine just the Lord sitting there and you just doubted him? I mean, it's happened to all of us. Whether we know it or not, we've all doubted the Lord when he was right in front of us. And then he grants you with unimaginable rewards. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, that many fish that Simon Peter got? I mean, that was meals, that was money, he could have been rich, like super rich. All the men could have been rich. But then Jesus tells Peter, he doesn't ask Peter, but he tells Peter to follow him and leave everything. Now, this is a big thing for us in this age. I mean, we don't do that anymore. I've only known so many people who've done that. But the thing is that I don't. Francis Chan, he gave up his house, he gave up one of his churches, he moved into an RV. So he left everything to follow God. And so 90% of Christians aren't witnesses of God. Number one, because we won't leave everything, as Jesus told every apostle that he met. Maybe that we have a high authority in our job that we just can't leave, that it's paying for our family, that we are comfortable where we are. We're not willing to change. And number two, our second excuse is that I'm not the man, I'm not the woman for the job. I'm I'm not the person to be a witness for God. And let me tell you, that's a load of baloney. I mean, that's not true. I mean, I know I'm saying a bunch of weird stuff right now, but Jesus didn't call the righteous to be apostles. I mean, Jesus could have called John the Baptist, but guess what? He didn't. He called John the son of Zebedee, the unhumble son of Zebedee, the two sons, actually. And, I mean, he called the lowest of stature, of wealth. He called the most unhumble. He called the arrogant. He called the people who didn't have a tight rein on their tongues. He called men with the biggest flaws. He called tax collectors and unbelieving fishermen. I mean, everyone or anyone is meant for evangelism, no matter how it is. I mean, start out with like Ray Comfort. He has these little dollar bills. You flip them over, it has like a memory verse on it. It tells you about it. I mean, that could impact someone's life. Or you could just use the Ray Comfort technique, you know? Are you a good person? And then they go over the 10 Commandments, and then they say a prayer after, and they start being a better Christian that day. Anyone can witness for God. When we comply to God, we now represent God. When we become Christians, we now represent who God is. If we're going to cuss, if we're going to say the C word, the F word, the S word, if we're going to have a dirty mouth about things, then other people are going to be like, do I want to be a Christian? Is this what Christians do all day? Is they just cuss? But that's not who we're supposed to be. And those are guys who are comfortable. Those are Christians who are comfortable, not willing to give up things, and don't believe that they're meant for the job. People who are weak in the faith, people who don't have faith or hope in God, who are unwilling to change. But I tell you, we shall leave everything and follow him. We shall be uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. We should be willing to change, because this is what God does. He makes people change. That is how he shapes the world, is he makes people change. So thank you guys for listening in for another video. I know this one might have been a long one like all of them are, but I'm just happy if you made it to the end, if you made it halfway through. I'm still happy for you, but if you can, stay till the end, because, I mean, I'm just a 14-year-old, you know, guy whose brain is still a bowl of soup trying to form into a mature person. So just please have patience with me. If you want to put down in the comments something that I missed or something that could help me in my spiritual life, or if you need a prayer request, please put that down in the comments as well. Please like and subscribe this video. So thank you guys for listening, and peace out. Worthy is